What's up, everybody? It's your host, Lolita Keys. Welcome back to What a Fuster Cluck podcast. Today's episode, I have such a fire in my belly for this episode. I can't wait to dig into this. In today's episode, I'm going to be responding to one of the more recent episodes of the Shawn Ryan podcast, explicitly number 255, where he hosts Ryan Montgomery, a Roblox and Minecraft hacker who exposes the largest online video games that essentially have the most pedophiles, just the worst of the people in our global society. So why do I want to comment on this episode? As you may know, one of my earliest episodes talked about to game or not to game and my thoughts on online gaming, what I think it's doing to our kids, how I'm trying to handle it and manage it. And so this episode really spoke to me, and it's a 5-hour plus episode. So I don't know how many people will get to listen to it. And I love the Shawn Ryan podcast. And I will say this episode I completely missed when it came out. This is why you guys have to like, follow, subscribe, which I am. But God, I'm subscribed and following so many podcasts. Sometimes I miss them, which is why I rely on my good friends on social media who someone I know reposted this episode and said, fast forward to the last hour. I beg you to listen to this and share this content, et cetera, et cetera. And so I thought, boom, new episode. This is so near and dear to my heart. As I've said in my To Game or Not to Game episode, I have 2 sons. They both play video games amongst the entirety of their friend group. And as someone who's come from a family with addiction problems, I do worry about addiction because you can get addicted to video games. It's not like you can only be addicted to drugs and alcohol. There's so many things out there for us to get addicted to. And I know the warning signs. And so I've tried really hard to set proper boundaries. So I'm going to be playing some excerpts from that episode, the Shawn Ryan episode, where he has Ryan Montgomery on, because I want to challenge a few things. I know that his heart is in the right place, but I want to challenge him to think a little bit more broadly and carefully about some of the statements that he made in that podcast. Again, coming truly from his heart after seeing what he saw, what Ryan Montgomery talked about, what videos he played for him, the images he showed of children online who are being groomed and literally tortured. I could barely get through listening to the last hour of that episode. It was so disturbing. So while I do recommend that everyone do their best to try to listen to that episode, even incrementally, I also caution you that it's powerful. It is really powerful. So I appreciate his passion in some of the statements that he makes. Now, I've never done this before, so I may very well have to insert the sound later, but I'm going to try to play some of the excerpts from the podcast. Hopefully the recording picks up on that and hopefully it will play. If not, I'll do my best. And if I can't get the clips in, then I'll tell you exactly where to find them. So the first clip I'm going to play is more towards the end of the episode, hour 5-second 31, with about 26 minutes, 8 seconds remaining. This is on Apple, by the way. Not sure if it's a different timing on Spotify. And before we get in, I also want to congratulate Shawn on all of his success. Not that he needs congratulations from little old me, but I noticed he was coming up in I think the top 10 on podcasts. So kudos to him. I definitely enjoy and am a follower of his. So let me go ahead and try to hit play here and see if the recording picks up.
Children, and your children are on here, and I'm fucking telling you, you better get them off. You better fucking get them off. It is going to happen to you.
Yes, these people, they're sitting predators, if you've noticed.
Dude, what the fuck? What fucking parent keeps their fucking kid on there after we're telling them this shit?
I don't know, man. I don't know, but.
So I'm going to pause it there. What they're referring to is something that Roblox posted. You all have to understand that one of the reasons which is a huge reason for a lot of the evil in the world. It's financial. So a lot of the reasons why these vigilantes, these horrible criminals don't get taken off of these online platforms, it's money because they're somehow able to monetize and drive and run transactions through Roblox, whether it's sharing skins. For instance, on this episode, I actually heard that he said someone was selling a skin, which is essentially clothing or gear for your avatar on Roblox, that was a graphic image of the Charlie Kirk murder and celebrating it. So someone out there created that t-shirt. That t-shirt is apparently allowed to be on Roblox. I haven't verified this, but this is what they talked about on the Shawn Ryan episode. So I'm only partially summarizing what I heard there. But just keep in mind, this is the kind of crazy stuff that's out there. So that's what he's talking about when he's talking about the disclaimer. And I apologize. I should have told you, warning, this is, you're going to hear some curse words, not just from the Shawn Ryan show, but from me. So you better fucking get your kids off there. You can hear and feel the passion in his voice. He's essentially demanding that you do this. And while I wish it was that simple, and some people will argue, it is that simple, Lolita, just get them off. But it's not that simple. And while I appreciate Shawn Ryan's passion again, and while I agree with him, there's so many things he's not taking into consideration. There's several other snippets that I want to play where they talk about if it's not Roblox, it's going to be something else. And you're right, Shawn Ryan, you're right. If it's not Roblox, it's going to be something else. So even if you take your kids off Roblox, what other thing? Let's not act as if children weren't put in precarious situations before Roblox existed. That's what I want you to consider. And that's not me telling you you're wrong. Again, I completely respect and appreciate your passion. I feel much the same way, but I have to pull myself back. I have to step back and I have to be realistic. This is the world our kids are living in. And you can't protect your children from every possible bad situation. There's this thing called helicopter parenting, which is, it turns out, is a problem for our kids because then they become afraid of absolutely everything. I think the real solution that we all need to partner on is holding these companies more accountable to say, if you will not put up the proper security measures and protocols to keep this platform safer for the millions of kids that you're attracting to it, then peace out. Then I am going to get off. Then we all need to get off. But how can we do that? We have to come together as parents, as people, to demand better from these companies. And until we can do that, we're not going to get a better solution. So what I'm saying is you don't have to abolish the video game. Okay. To your point, Shawn Ryan said, if it's not Roblox, it's going to be something else. So instead of seeing the problem exacerbate across a multitude of gaming platforms, what can we do? We could organize a strike day, or I don't even know what you would call it, a protest day, a boycott day. I don't know, where we all we just circulate this and we pick a date and we say on January 15th, 2026, every parent who cares about this shit will collectively come together. And on that day for 24 hours or for 48 hours or for 1 week, every parent, or, let's face it, as many parents as we can get to actually hear this message and agree to this, get your kids off of them. Don't let your kids play any online game whatsoever. What will that do to the company? Boom! You're going to see that money go down, 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 down. If you were to get a huge chunk and really get this to go viral, where parents just agree on this day or on this week, whatever, we're going to take all of our kids off of Roblox. Guys, I bet you even if we did it for a period of 6 hours, it would affect the company monetarily to the point where they'd have to do something. They'd have to wake up, they'd have to listen, and they'd have to get these pieces of shit off their platforms. Okay. So again, he made the comment, if it isn't Roblox, it'll be something else. So pay attention to what your kids are doing online. That is the key. Pay attention to what your kids are doing online. And where I'll challenge Shawn Ryan there is I will say, it's not easy. And I'm going to come to some of the tools that they mentioned in this episode that can help parents. But you have to remember too, Shawn Ryan and Ryan Montgomery, your hearts are in the right place, but there are parents out there that just are not technologically savvy. And so then what's the answer? Well, if the parent's not tech savvy, don't give the kid the thing. I want to hearken to something that Joe Rogan says. I've heard him say it many times when he's had people like Jonathan Haidt and Abigail Schreier, among several other guests in this space, where he'll say he has daughters and the impacts of social media. And apparently now, what I'm hearing from this episode with Shawn Ryan, even on Roblox, the impacts to girls are just, it's just like 10x. I don't know what the numbers are, but it just seems that this just impacts girls more negatively, which isn't to say boys are not victims too. They certainly are, and we should all be aware of that. But man, the impact to girls is just, it's undeniable. And to boys as well, you know, because I've made the joke many times, they'll end up basement dwellers and they'll never leave home because they'll just be addicted to these video games, not eating, not sleeping, you know, constantly gaming. But Joe Rogan always talks about, his philosophy seems to be that we also have to understand and embrace the environment that our own children are growing up in. So I say that to say I completely relate to the passion of this episode. And I wrote this down, so I don't want to mess this up. I think these are good points that I want to drive home. I completely relate to their passion. I'm not faulting either one of them for making these broad sweeping statements when they say, get your fucking kids, everyone. And they're essentially implying you're a piece of shit parent. And I'm not even mad at you for that. I understand why when I first heard you say that, I was both fueled to just take the iPads and completely trash them. And then I was also triggered like, well, hey, I'm doing the best I can here, guys. I really am doing the best I can. And I think we can all be better. That's always the situation. We can all be better. But in this moment, I'm doing the best I can. And this is a struggle for me. I do think about this a lot. And I know some of my friends think I'm nuts because they're just like, well, what the hell? Like all the kids are doing it, which doesn't make it right. But even to Joe Rogan's point, he has to let his kids grow up in the world that they're living in, or they'll be kind of like completely ostracized from everything that's happening in society. Now, we could argue that's probably not a bad thing, but let's be honest, okay? It's my understanding you live out on a big, beautiful piece of property. You have to keep in mind also, you're a middle-aged man who served for the country, which we appreciate and thank you for your service, of course. And your mind, after everything you've been through and the success of your podcast, is in a different place than most parents, especially parents in their 20s, in their 30s, which are the bulk of parents, okay? You are older, wiser, and there's really something to be said for that. But when you make sweeping statements that essentially imply that parents, when you say things like, why the fuck are these parents keeping their kids on these games? Yeah, it's triggering because it makes you feel like a piece of shit parent, and you're not. You're not a piece of shit parent. Are you playing with fire a little bit? Yeah, to the detriment of your kid. Yeah, I'm going to completely admit that in full transparency. But let me challenge you on this thought, because to me, again, it all comes down to a few things: balance, awareness, talking to your kids. You've got to talk to your kids. It's no different than the DARE program back in the day. I was a kid in the 80s, okay? So I remember the DARE program. I remember the egg commercial. This is your brain. This is your brain on drugs. Any questions? You know, you got to talk to your kids. Somebody talked to me and I witnessed it in the household that I grew up in. But think about this, okay? Before your generation and current generations, people used to say television rots your brain, and yet TV prevailed. Then they used to say before TV, it was radio. Radio could be detrimental, right? Before radio, it was the printing press. So let's think about what we're saying. We are an evolving species. We will always be looking for the next best thing. We are always looking to advance. It's in our very nature. And so we can't slow down the rise of technology, but we can be more diligent about making sure that we're doing better about putting up the proper guardrails that are needed to protect our children better. So I would challenge you to say, you say things like, take your kids outside. I mean, yeah, duh. Again, your heart is in the right place. You're coming from a good place. But dude, you are I venture to guess, I've not looked up your net worth, but I imagine you're quite successful with young children who are very blessed to have you as their parent. Not everyone is in your situation. You talk in this episode about homeschooling. Again, what a blessing. You have to remember millions upon millions of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, Shawn Ryan. They don't have the ability to homeschool their children. Should we just abolish all schools now? Do we have to make all parents who really have no choice but to send their kids to public school? Do we have to make them all feel like shit because of that decision? You have to put yourself back into the perspective of this shit is not easy. It's not easy, especially for lower income people. What's the solution, right? So to make these broad sweeping generalizations, I applaud your passion. I agree with you. I wish I had it in me to take, honestly, I wish I never gave my kids the iPad, to tell you the truth. It was a Christmas gift. I actually waited until they were a little bit older, even than most of our friends and family, to even give them technology. And even then, it wasn't enough. And I regret it. My husband and I talk about it all the time, which is why we're diligent about this is your game time. These are the days you're allowed. This is the time block you're allowed. You cannot get on before this time. You cannot get on after this time. You cannot sit in your bed playing on this thing. Trust me, working in the technology space and having seen The Social Dilemma and following all of that, I understand the long-term implications and what it can do to you mentally. And that's why it's important to me, again, to set boundaries. And I think we all need to come to that agreement. I also wanted to ask the question, do we need laws about this? On the Shawn Ryan show in particular, we talk all the time about how government has failed us. It's freaking failed us. All the people that are supposed to be doing right by us, the people that we vote in, they all end up corrupt. I swear to God, they're like probed by aliens, and that's the end of their soul. They go in with all this amazing passion and rigor, and everything's going to be different and better. And one after the other, they just disappoint. Some of them are good, but let's face it, the bulk of our government has just completely let us down as a nation, and we're a crumbling nation because of it. But that's a whole other podcast episode. So let me not get on that soapbox. So what can we do to collectively demand better from the technology companies? We have voices. Let's get this done, Shawn Ryan. Let's get it done. Let's work with Ryan Montgomery. Tell me, reach out to me, email me, whatafusterclucklk@gmail.com. Let's get it going. I'm sure there's actually already organizations out there. Let's come together. We need platforms like yours. We need platforms like Joe Rogan. We need platforms like Megyn Kelly, all of these huge, large platforms, Tucker Carlson, even the people you could think about on the left. I mean, all of them. Everybody's talking about the government and wars and global this and pandemics and blah, 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 blah. Let's all agree to do major episodes about the kids, you guys. Let's all agree to do that, because if we can't protect our kids, what future do we really have? So let's start to hold these tech companies more accountable. And again, you're making a big claim. You also have to remember that technology has just become a part of our world. It's almost impossible for a huge swath of the population to operate without a device. And so how do you solve for that in the blink of an eye, Shawn Ryan? You can't do that. So we need to come together, put our minds together collectively, and work in a way where we can get these companies by the balls and make them be accountable to make more secure platforms for our children. Because I'll tell you what, I don't know what you had or whether you gamed when you were a child, but like when I was growing up, it was Nintendo. Now, I am explicitly aware of the fact that the video games that my kids are playing are completely different from what I grew up with. Number one, they're online. Number two, they never end. The games we played had a distinct beginning, middle, end, right? Some of the games end, right? Like you can play football on your iPad or whatever, your Nintendo, your Xbox, whatever it is, your Switch. But it's these ones that are highly addictive: Minecraft, Roblox, Fortnite. It seems that there is just no ending. So these kids can just go on and on and on. But that's not to say that even back in the day, there weren't kids that would just play video game after video game after video game. So again, what is it really? It's the parents. It's the parents. You guys, if we're not setting boundaries for our kids will break every boundary because they don't have the capacity to make themselves stop if they are already addicted. Now, some kids do. Between two of my kids, one of them will just get bored of it. He'll just put it down. But the other one, if I let him rock, he would go. He would go, and I don't even know how long he would go. And honestly, I don't want to find out. And as someone who's very familiar with addiction, I'm trying to be very careful about this, very aware of this, and make sure that they're spending time outside, away from screens in general. And it's not just Roblox, you guys, too. It's YouTube. It's addicting. And we're all like part of this crazy rat race. So how can we hold these companies more accountable? Let's get together. Let's brainstorm on that. I'm just one lowly little person with a evolving, emerging podcast, but you, Shawn Ryan, you have the platform. So again, I appreciate the message that you're bringing, but we need to solution simply by telling everyone, get your fucking kids off of Roblox and thinking that's the answer. That seems like the easy answer, but sir, it's not, because I'm going to ask you to consider the reality of people across this world, across this nation. What about kids who are living in an impoverished situation, whose parents have to work multiple jobs? I already said a huge swath of our population lives paycheck to paycheck, right? So we know this. So what do you think's happening? The iPad becomes the kid's babysitter. Now, in some households, that's not the case. They're not impoverished. Their parents maybe aren't working. Maybe they're a wealthy stay-at-home mom and they're like, ugh, like I need my soap operas. And so I'm just going to give my kid the iPad, like, get away. Ugh, this is like my babysitter. But for other kids, it's almost an escape. You know how many kids are growing up in households that are just tumultuous and terrible, and the kids' getaway from all that is to game online, and then those become, in many instances, some of the very kids who are the easiest to get groomed. Why? Because they probably have the parents that aren't paying attention. So again, what is the root cause? The root cause is we're not holding these companies accountable. These companies are not doing enough. And I'm telling you right now, they can all do better. It's possible if we just hold their feet to the fire. But you're not going to get everybody to collectively take away technology from their kids. That's not the solution. I wish it was. I really wish it was. But put that into perspective. What if somebody came and tried to take all your guns? You wouldn't let that happen. And yet there's a whole advocacy group out there saying that it's the guns. It's not the people. It's not the mental health crisis in this country. It's the guns. Get rid of the Second Amendment. Well, if somebody came to your house, Shawn Ryan, and tried to take your guns, would you give it to them? No. And yet that's kind of the implication here with technology. Like, should we just round up everybody's technology? I know you didn't say that, or at least I didn't hear you say that in the episode. But the fact that you're saying, like, just take it away, like, get them off. Okay, but what about every other facet of their life? Everybody has the internet. It doesn't just take these video games, right, for your kids to get groomed. It's social media, too. It's all of it. And so what can you do? Let's go back to the Joe Rogan philosophy, where you kind of also have to realize that you have to let your kids grow up in the world that they're in. And we can't protect them and shield them from everything. So what can we do? I'm starting to sound like a broken record here, and that's okay. We can hold these companies more accountable. How? We need to come together collectively. How can we work on that? What can we do? We need to educate parents more at the school level. We need to get people who own apps like Bark, which Ryan Montgomery mentioned on your podcast, Shawn Ryan, about Bark, where parents can safeguard and monitor their kids' online activities. And Bark is one of many. Why don't these companies go around? How come they're not going to public schools offering to go to, I don't know, speak publicly at a school for parents who want to sign up, do a virtual something or other? These companies have a huge opportunity to get in front of parents and you know, put things on YouTube. Maybe it is. I should have checked that before I started speaking out of tune on this. But where can parents go? There needs to be public forums. It should be educated at the public school level, at private school levels, online. There should be advertisements for this stuff on Facebook. Get these online monitoring systems if you are going to let your kids game, so that you can have that added layer. Another thing that we do is my kids cannot accept a friend request without my explicit permission. Now, I think I have the proper guardrails set up for this. Can they get around it? Yeah. So where there's a will, there's a way. And I know you're thinking, well, take away the iPad, but This is the world my children are living in. And I have put up parameters and I'm doing the best that I can in this moment. And when my kids are online with their friends, they're having a blast. They're having a blast. They're laughing. Yeah, sometimes they fight, but they're fighting even if they're outside playing in the woods, the backyard, or the cul-de-sac, right? They're going to fight. The kids do that, but they're laughing. I hear them talking. They're excited. They're plotting together. It is kind of groupthink and it's not all bad. Why throw the baby out with the bathwater? Yes, I don't like it. Yes, I want to take it away, but the reality is it's there. What can we do to make it safer? We need to hold these companies more accountable. Everything in moderation, everything in moderation. And you can't shame the parent whose kid is on technology. I mean, you could, technically, you did. And again, I'm not mad at you for that. I completely understand where you're coming from, especially after the things that Ryan Montgomery brought up, that you saw, that you talked about, that you heard on the episode. Of course, in that moment, you're just like, get the fuck off, get it off, get it off, get your kids off of it, throw it away, burn it, and let's burn these companies to the ground. But you said it yourself, and I'll say it again. Something else is going to come in and just take its place.
Crime or turn them into all of it. I don't even know what to say, Shawn. It's got me. I can't. I've never spoke on this topic.
We're doing it, Ryan. We're doing it. The parents that care are going to watch this. Their kids aren't going to be on Roblox anymore. They're going to be educated, just like the last time. And then there's going to be a handful of parents that just don't give a fuck.
And that's on them. That's on them. They can regret it when they figure it out themselves.
Just this alone is going. I mean, look. If let's say Roblox disappears tomorrow. Let's just say 75 billion people watch this episode and they're all on Roblox. They're like, fuck it, I'm out. Then it's just going to move to something else.
Yeah.
So you have to be a vigilant parent. You have to pay attention to what your kids are doing online.
Okay, I'm going to pause it right there and preface this. I want you to listen to this next bit too. So again, what fucking parent keeps their kids on these things after we're telling them this? So there's many instances in life where it's easy to be reactive, to listen to a podcast like this and say, fuck it, I'm taking it away. I'm taking the technology away. My kids are going to cry and scream, but after a week, hopefully life goes on and they'll be fine. And I still consider that. I'm not taking that off the table, but it's not the world we're living in. And I would rather hear my kids laughing and playing with their friends when they're outside, when they're inside, and when they're gaming online, because I had video games as a kid and I'm not all bad, Shawn Ryan, So these things aren't all bad. Now, the next clip I'm about to play, you're going to hear Ryan Montgomery make another comment that I also have something I'm hoping is a really good gem to share with you all too. So take a listen. He's going to start talking about where predators usually are found.
I don't know, but it's unbelievable to me. And it's predators hang out in spots where they can prey on victims. That's why there's so many teachers, why there's so many police officers, why there's so many parks that things happen at, or gym teachers, or people in positions of power where they have access to children. That's where predators end up. And then people are surprised by it. They wonder why. Like, why do you think these people took the job in the first place? Do you think that they weren't a predator? They weren't a pedophile prior to taking the job? Like, they've always been one. So.
Okay. Notice what he said. He said police officers, teachers. Notice he said gym teachers. I mean, think about this. That's been true for all of time. For all of time. People in power, people in positions of power, absolute power corrupts absolutely sometimes. And I honestly think that it's par for the course in many cases. You can't make it sometimes to that level of power or that level of success without being completely corrupt and evil. But in the instances of the teachers, okay, and in particular, he said gym teachers, which, no shade to all gym teachers. And I believe they're making blanket statements, and I'm not a fan of blanket statements. Within a blanket statement, there's always room for nuance. Whenever you're saying all ... are bad, there's a case to be made that you're wrong somewhere in there. Okay, think about this. If someone Murder is bad, right? We can all agree murder is bad and you should be punished. Murder is bad. However, isn't it interesting that when you broaden that conversation and really put it into a more nuanced perspective, if someone broke into your home and was harming your child, and you had the opportunity to grab a weapon and kill that person, you would murder the hell out of that person. You would murder that person without a second thought, or at least I would. If somebody came into my house and was hurting my children, you're damn right that if I had a gun, I would absolutely kill the shit out of them. I would not want them to survive. Like, it better be a good shot. I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm trying to kill you for coming into my home and inflicting pain on my children, trying to harm my children. I'm going to go full mama bear, right? And I think a lot of us are going to do something like that if we're being honest with ourselves. So, can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You're making these claims. Yes, you are correct that we should understand that people in positions of power are going to take advantage. But does this mean you guys that we have to abolish all schools? Are all schools shit? Are all schools bad? Are all teachers piece of shit pedophiles or creepers or people who just want to be in positions of power? It's like, no. And also, Shawn, Ryan, I would ask you this question. If someone was making those comments, think about it. You know, I have heard the expression before when people say all this are bad, all that are bad, all cops are bad. Are all cops bad? Remember defund the police? Remember when we were against that? Except there was a whole group of people who were really passionate about it, right? So it just depends on where are your values, but what's the underlying message here? And then he even talks about pedophiles in parks. He makes the comment about pedophiles in parks. So what, you guys? Are we supposed to just stop taking our kids to parks? I mean, are we all just supposed to go live in a compound, live in a bubble, not be around anyone? Danger is out there. I know it. As a person who lives with anxiety and lived with major anxiety for decades, I can tell you I'm aware of all these things. I think of all these things, but we still have to live our lives. We're not going to send our kids to school. We're not going to take our kids to the park because pedophiles hang out at the freaking park. Like, just watch your kid and talk to your kid. So let me see if I could play a little bit more of this. All right. In this clip, he talks about how we're paying money and are complicit. So take a listen.
And you're fucking paying this platform money. There's millions of people that are going to listen to this, and I'm fucking telling you, you are complicit in this shit.
100%. And let me tell you some more, Shawn. So Roblox, if parents have their kids playing on it, if you're familiar with Fortnite, there's a similar in-game currency called V-Bucks in Fortnite, and Roblox is called Robux, like Robux. Mm-hmm. So if you went to Target or Walmart or CVS right now, we could go buy a Roblox gift card that a kid can cash in the game, and they get a Robux balance. So they'll get it for their birthday presents, or their parents will buy them these cards, which allows them to buy like outfits in the game or access to do fun things and in actual kids' games, right? Well, there's these public games where developers, like you and I could be a developer for Roblox by just signing up to be a developer, put out a game, Roblox will host the game, and then everything that's purchased by these children within game, in-game purchases, they make 30% commission on. So
think about that, parents. Every parent who's gotten their kids Robux or lets their kid game online, the statement is that you are complicit. So think of, how does that make you feel as a parent who knows that your kid is on Roblox? Do you feel the weight of that? The weight of the fact that somehow we're all complicit here? But again, I feel like it's a bit of a gross over exaggeration because no, a lot of us are not complicit. Many of us have no clue that the innocence of buying your kids a Roblox gift card equals fueling child pedophilia and child trafficking and child harm and increased rates of suicide. Like, no, we don't know that we're complicit. And even after hearing this, we still don't know that we're complicit because we're not doing it from a place of, hey, let me buy this Roblox gift card so that I can contribute to the growing epidemic of this online trash and these horrible people. Like, can we talk about the laws? I get it that you're targeting parents in your message because you think that's the easy place to start, but as you can see, it's not. It's not the easy place to start because this technology is out there and it's not horrible for all kids. It's not all bad. So there you have it. If it's not Roblox, it's something else. So how do we stop that, Shawn and Ryan? How awkward is this, right? This episode was Shawn Ryan with Ryan Montgomery. But I'm going to ask you, gentlemen, how do we stop this? It will go to something else. So let's get to the root that not all technology is bad. Shawn Ryan, you are a podcaster. Without technology, you wouldn't be podcasting. Now I realize you're not saying it's technology that's all bad. It's the video game. It's these particular platforms, but it's not. It's the fact that there's not enough security and there's not enough being done to protect children and their mental and physical well-being on these platforms. So let's go there. Let's go after these companies there and demand better there. Because I think we'll have a lot more success in trying to get people to get off these platforms. Like I said, even if it's just for a day, if we could just get millions of people and get something to go viral to get people to agree that for this day at this time, you will not, all of your kids will get off of these games. And let's teach these. Like, then I would argue that if you're a parent who's still like, oh, fuck it, you can play, stay on the Roblox, when you know that you have an opportunity to make change, that I could at least argue, okay, maybe then you're a parent that just really could give a shit. But I would venture to say that if we could get it to go viral, I mean, all these ridiculous, stupid TikTok challenges that go viral, can we not collectively agree that the kids are the most important things on this planet? Without the kids, we are nothing. Our civilization ceases to exist. Can we not agree and organize some kind of national get the hell off line day so that we can pigeonhole these companies into listening and once and for all doing something to get these motherfucking pieces of shit off these gaming platforms, or to at least not just get them off, but make it so difficult for them to get on. And then if they do get on, to catch them quickly. And then when you catch them, to seriously think about the laws around the prosecution of these people and put them away for life. I don't care what you have to do, put them away. We have the ability to make this change, but stripping every kid of video games to try to satisfy this, it's just not realistic. I'm sorry. I just don't think that that's the answer. And I'm going to, again, go back to, will you let them take your guns? Because you can't argue with the fact that guns kill people, right? And we talked about how murder is bad, but it's all circumstantial. It's all circumstantial. So I'm just asking you to think about that. So in closing, a few things. Moderation is key. There's a lot of privileged people out there right now. Shawn Ryan, I'm not saying this to knock you, but you are one of those people now. You have earned your success. You have worked really hard. Again, I'm a huge fan of your show, but you are in a position of privilege at this point where you can live a pretty amazing life because of what you've built for yourself and because of your success, and you deserve all of that. But when people in a position of a certain amount of privilege talk down to people who don't have what you have and say things as if they're so easy, when you don't realize that there are instances where people really do use iPads as babysitters so that they can get work done to put food on the table for their children, or that there are kids out there living such shitty lives that sometimes their only happiness is online, and take that away from them, when what we really need to do is stop these pedophiles from getting on these platforms to the best of our ability, and these companies can do better. That is the solution. That's where we should be aligning our focus. Look at the girls on Megyn Kelly. Megyn Kelly just had on 2 girls who were publicly sexually assaulted in broad daylight in New York City on their way to what's essentially a part of the NYU campus in broad daylight. Like, you guys, if we don't figure these freaking laws out and start punishing these people and not letting them out of prison in 2 minutes, we're just going to continue to see more of the same bullshit. And we need to start rising up, quite frankly. We need to start rising up and demanding better. But you know what? This is going to sound really conspiratorial, but I don't care. In this country, I'm a fan of capitalism, but I also understand they've got us all working so damn hard. We hardly have the time to be rigorous and get out there and protest. So that's also the harsh reality, that we can rise up, we can do more, we can demand better, but a lot of us are just working to freaking get by and can't afford to miss the day of work or whatever. Or maybe we can, because in the long run, it's going to save us all. And so we have to put that into perspective. But the reality is, we need to put pressure on these tech giants instead of shitting on each other as parents, number one. Number two, what can we do? How can we solution together? Let's start to focus on that. Let's not just blame the parents. Everything to an extent is the fault of the parent. But even there's an argument to be made that sometimes awful things happen completely not to the fault of the parent. Think of school shootings, for instance. Do you know? And this goes back to the homeschool comment, as if this is so easy. And why does that have to be the way? I mean, I'm not a fan of school and the way things are structured and how archaic we're basically living, still operating on this old model that's not good for kids like mine, who need to be in motion, need to be moving, have a hard time concentrating, have a hard time grasping the content. Schools need to be revamped completely. I get that. But also, school is important. And it is also really great for social skills, and it's not bad for the kids. So homeschooling sounds great, and maybe you have the luxury to do that. But again, not everybody has that luxury. And is homeschool the right thing for everyone? I would argue no. It's the right thing for some people. It's not the right thing for everybody. All right, y'all. Thanks for sticking with me this long. So essentially, what we need is to come together for a solution to the problem, not to demonize gaming overall, not to shit on each other as parents, which is easy to do. There's an old expression, if you haven't walked a mile in my shoes, you shouldn't talk shit, but it's human nature. It's what we do. We talk shit, and sometimes it's easier for us to blame other people instead of looking at ourselves. And I get all of that, but we need to come together on this one for the sake of our kids. And just like the park analogy that he gave, we cannot hide in a bubble. We can't keep our kids in a bubble. So I would implore you, if your child is gaming online, that you look into Bark, that you look into other types of applications and software that can help you better safeguard your children's online presence and what they're doing. But most importantly, people, if your kids aren't old enough for you to talk to them about the dangers of online gaming, then your kids shouldn't be online gaming. I would say that if you cannot have a true heart-to-heart with your child about all of the scenarios and all of the bad guys and girls out there that are looking for them online, if you can't have that conversation without scaring the shit out of your kid, or if you can't have that conversation and really reach your kid in the truth of that, then maybe don't put your kids online. Now, for me, I have those conversations with my kids very openly and very honestly, to the point where they've come to me many times and said whether or not someone's trying to friend request them or something like that. So I feel good about that, I will say. And I'm doing the best I can. I'm just saying that technology is here. It's not stopping. But we still, as a people, have the ability I'd like to believe that we still have the ability to make change. So anybody. I don't know that this episode will even reach Shawn Ryan. So whether it does, whether it doesn't, anybody that it is reaching, if you're a parent and you're interested in starting up some kind of a coalition and really getting it going, I'm thinking of like Moms for Liberty. These things sometimes start out small and then they catch like wildfire. So if you're someone who has any experience creating organizations like this, reach out to me, email me, whatafusterclucklk@gmail.com. I'm happy to be a part of this. I'm a total proponent for online safety. I think there is something we can do if we have enough voices. It's just a matter of getting the right people together and getting the right platforms. Shawn Ryan. I appreciate you hosting, Ryan Montgomery. I appreciate you bringing this information to the masses. It's a long ass episode, you guys, 5 hours. I know a lot of you aren't going to listen to it. Maybe a lot of you aren't listening to this one. But let's do the best we can with what we have. And all we can do is just try to make change. Be aware, talk to your kids, demand better, do your best, try your best to lock down technology. If you are going to give it to your kids, think about Bark. What a Fuster Cluck. What a Fuster Cluck is this? I mean, this is some Fuster Clucking. So new episodes every Monday. Remember, please like, follow, subscribe. Most importantly, share this podcast with someone that you think needs to hear it, could benefit from it. It's all about the information, nuanced perspective, critical thinking, something that could change your life. I obviously talk about a broad variety of topics. This one is near and dear to me. I hope you appreciated this. I hope you take the time to check out Shawn Ryan's episode. Be aware of the dangers that are out there, and we're all doing the best we can, or at least a good majority of us are trying. So thanks for listening, everyone. Catch you next time.